I've told you guys before that Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, is truly a sinister force in American politics and in the world. And Jared's back. You know, after he did that one coronavirus press briefing where he said things like, you know, the stockpile is our stockpile. It's not a stockpile for the states. They pulled him out of public view because he's been a disaster. Now he's back. Jared Kushner reappearing on Fox News yesterday. He was asked about the Black American community, and he brought us a beautiful message of hope and unity, which was, hey, listen, Trump's policies have been the right policies, but we can't make Black people more successful than they want to be. We can only help them so much. We can't make them want to be successful if they don't want to be successful. I guess that this was how Jared Kushner thought he was defending Trump's policy towards Black Americans and other minority groups. I don't know, but take a look at this embarrassing fiasco.
Thing we've seen in a lot of the Black community, which is mostly Democrat, is that President Trump's policies are the policies that can help people break out of the problems that they're complaining about, but he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful. And what you're seeing throughout the country now is a groundswell of support in the Black community because they're realizing that all the different bad things that the media and the Democrats have said about President Trump are not true. And so they're seeing that he's actually delivered, he's put up results, and a lot of people want to get on board to start working with President Trump because they know that, you know, unlike most politicians who have been in Washington for decades, who talk and say all the right things, President Trump may not always say the right things, but he does the right things.
Is this the right message days before the election? Like maybe the calculation is by saying this 8 days before an election, as he did yesterday, he'll bring in more of the racist vote than the number of other folks that will leave because of the message. I don't know. And of course, Jared Kushner's personal lack of self-awareness about wanting to be successful being what matters. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, had businesses handed to him by his dad. His dad essentially paid his way into Harvard. It is, you know, the height of lack of self-awareness and hypocrisy. It's just another instance, really, of the same projection we've been seeing for years with this family. Major transition into the second term. It's not our fault. They're just not working hard enough. We can only help them succeed so much. The guy was born on third base, and he's telling actual batters how to hit a triple. That's the best analogy I can think of for this. And honestly, when people say this stuff out loud, how does he walk around without getting punched in the face? Is it just 24/7 security that keeps the guy from getting slapped? And by the way, this idea of a groundswell of support for Donald Trump from the Black community, it's also a farce. The latest IBD poll has Trump polling 8% with Black voters. Another poll has Trump polling 7% with Black voters. There is no groundswell of Black support for Donald Trump. Now, many Republicans will say, oh, David, the reason Black voters aren't supporting Trump is they've been tricked by the Democratic Party into essentially signing a blank check for them and voting for Democrats no matter what, which is really a way of saying Black people aren't actually evaluating candidates. They've been tricked, which I guess means they're not that smart. They've been tricked into voting for the Democratic Party. Now, the truth is Black folks and Hispanic folks and women and the college educated and on, all these groups that are supporting Joe Biden, they're doing it because they know what Trump offers and they don't want it. That's really the reason Black voters and others aren't supporting Trump. But back to Jared Kushner and the idea that Trump can only help Black people so much, they have to help themselves. Is this just a play for the racist vote? Have they calculated, let's bring in more racist whites? We'll lose some Black voters if Jared says this, but we'll bring in more racist whites who are overwhelmingly. There's more racist whites than Black people watching Fox News in the morning. Let's be clear. Is it a calculation or am I reading too much into it? There's no calculation. It's just Jared being Jared and that's it. As if you needed another reason to remove Trump, we might be only a week out from never having to hear from Jared Kushner again, which for me is a really great incentive to vote to remove Donald Trump, which I've already done. This really is a reminder that the right has no policy on broad-based economic stimulus for the lower and middle class, regardless of race. We can say the left's policy isn't good enough. We can say the Democratic Party isn't left enough on economic policy, but at least the left thinks you need policy. Jared and Republicans have this idea. You can't help people if they won't help themselves, if they won't pull themselves up by their own bootstraps to revitalize a completely ridiculous idea. Why can't poor people just decide to stop being poor? Jared Kushner's frustrated that poor people keep deciding to be poor. That's what this comes down to. It's a malignancy and we've got to remove it. If you love feeding your intellectual curiosity, but you're always struggling to find the time, check out one of my all-time favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist lets you consume an entire book on your way home from work. They take thousands of popular nonfiction books, condense each one into text or audio that you can get through in just 15 minutes, and you get all of the important core ideas and information from that book. It's perfect if you don't have enough time to do all the reading you want to do, or if you just want to sample a book before you buy the entire thing. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.